Welcome to HobbyHotTips. This is HobbyDad. We are going to show you how to make this tentacle with green stuff and these tools. We're going to put it on the top of this 3D printed tank. We're going to have it wrap around to this side. We ordered from a 3D printer on Etsy, and they sent us a tank that had some issues. The quality was not good. The details were soft, not really looking well, and they did have great customer service. They sent us a replacement tank, and between the two, we were able to get all the good detail parts on one, and this one is going to be for Hobby Bear's Army. He made this 100% by himself. It looks great. And then this one we're covering up with green stuff, tentacles, and barnacles. The first thing I like to do to get a rough estimate of how much I'm going to need, I take a wire. So we're going to need about that much green stuff. And when it comes to green stuff, I like to use two separate tubes. You could buy this in a link below. The reason being, you can get it in a ribbon where the two pieces are touching each other. The problem is the chemical reaction has already begun. It will give you flakes. It doesn't go as long. I've had this set of green stuff for years and I'm still using it and I have no issues with flakes. So the tentacle will start from the 10 and wrap around to the 7. We have two parts, about the length that we need because we're going to roll it out thicker and slowly get smaller. This should be the amount that we need. So we're going to use some water, twist this up, mix it up, and get ready to sculpt. So we're using water and this mat, and the water helps so we don't get a lot of fingerprints on there, and when we roll it out, it's nice and smooth. We're using the wire again to check the length. Now, this is a scraper. It is a long-edged blade, and that'll help us make straight lines, but we need to put water on it, so when we stick it in the green stuff, it doesn't stay there. We want it to come out when we're done with the press. We're going to be using a variety of different tools. You can see this also has water on it, and we're going to slowly press in to give the model depth. Now you can try to do a light line and then go over the line again and again to make the details deeper and deeper. It depends on how long of a line you're making, and you want to keep it consistent with the flat line that we used with the long blade. That flat blade gives us kind of a guide for all of the other lines that we want to make on here so we can ensure that they are flat and going the same direction. Now, because this is a tentacle, we kind of do want some bending and flexing so it has a more organic look to it. Brush applicator lets you have full control of the amount of glue that you want. We want these details of the suckers that are going to be on there kind of out here. We're going to wrap these around. So give that kind of a firm push, and now we're going to start bending it the way we want it to appear on the tank. And we're trying to cover some of the details that were on the tank that were lost because of the misprint. Again, we're making the best out of this. We're still going to make it look good, even though there's a little bit of bad details that came with this tank, but because we're going to be making a dredge army, this is all going to work out great. To give this tentacle a little bit of character, we're going to press this into the green stuff to give it a little bit of texture. Some things are smooth, some things need texture. A detail of a tentacle is on the outside of the rim. There's just a little bit of a trim that goes around here, so we're going to use the sculpting tool. It's one of my favorite. It's a wedge. So just press that detail around the outside. And if you feel other details just need more depth, you just slowly press in to get the desired depth that you want. Now we're going to mix up a little bit more green stuff to make the little suction cups that are going to go onto the tentacle. So we're going to show you how to make those right now. We're going to make kind of like a smaller tentacle, and we want this to be thick on the back and skinny in the front, because we're going to have the suckers that we cut gradually get thicker and thicker. We're going to want this to rock back and forth as we cut it to kind of keep the shape. You want to get about this much for a tentacle, and if it doesn't come out exactly round, that's okay, because we can kind of reshape as we go. Make some nice holes. And and that will work for our tentacles and give them the shape that we want. And this part, you want to make sure that the tentacle and the suction cups are not completely cured, because when you press them in, you want to make sure they have a solid bond with each other so they don't come popping off later. And as the suction cups get smaller, we gradually move on to a smaller tool with a smaller shape so that the hole doesn't stay consistent, but it actually gets smaller with the green stuff. And just a reminder to keep water on the mat and tools. That way the green stuff, it is super sticky, so the water helps it be more workable. I've also used Vaseline for green stuff, which works better, but I have had some issues with paint on that green stuff later. So if you do use Vaseline, it is amazing, but just remember to clean it really well before you prime this model. As the green stuff cures, it does get harder and harder to work with. So if you're trying to do things like tentacles, things that flow, that look more organic, that's when you want to make things right when you mix it. And as it gets harder, as you'll see later in the video, we're going to make some things that we want to have a different type of a look, different type of a texture. Now you can see that the tentacles are gradually getting smaller and smaller, and that's exactly what we want. So there we have it, a nice tentacle that matches this one. It's gonna be a great looking tank when we're done. We do have some green stuff left, so let's make some barnacles. So this is where the green stuff is gradually getting a little tougher to work with, which is fine, because barnacles, we want them to have sharper edges. So I'm using the wedge tool, our little tool to make holes. I make really sharp edges, but then I bring those sharp edges back into the hole after I press it in, and that will make it look more like a barnacle. Now here's a little thing we like to do, is we like to roll out a really small tentacle, put it in a window or a vent, and kind of give it a nice curl, so it looks like there's like a little tentacle octopus trying to get out, and we smooth it over with the soft edge tool and some water to kind of get rid of some of the fingerprints. And we even put tentacles on this guy. So the green stuff is getting ever harder to work with, so you need a tool that is more rigid. So this is my rigid tool, which can really push that tough green stuff in the position that you want it to be in. Here's another barnacle, and the green stuff is getting, again, harder and harder. So what's nice about this sculpting tool is the other side has an even more rigid tool, and that's how we're able to get the shapes that we want and the details as well. Here's the last two that we did. This stuff was getting really, really tough to work with, but again, with a more rigid tool, you're able to make it happen. There you have it. Hope you enjoyed this video. Give us a like, subscribe for more videos to come on Hobby Hot Tips.